Hello, and welcome to the Adventures in Poor Taste podcast. I am here with Jordan Richards,
Hi.
Sam Roach,
Hello.
and Sean M. Thompson.
Hi.
I'd say special guest, but I'm hoping that he'll be a regular
Yes,
contributor.
ideally I'll be just a special co-host because I'm a special boy.
You are a special boy.
I'm a special boy.
Okay. We'll see what happens. Anyway,
Yeah.
what are you guys reading this week? What have you guys been reading?
Right
I
out the
told us the best way to spend $12 this week. My pick is The Darkness Close Your Eyes one-shot from Top Cow. It's a one-shot spinning off of the video game comic book franchise, and it is about an oil rig worker who is very poor, it's set in 1912, I believe, but he's very poor. He's trying to support his mom and himself. He's a very abusive stepfather. He's gone through a lot of tough shit in his life. His boss is a jackass. He's trying to get this girl that he really likes, and he's trying to run away with her. And it's all just very tragic, but also brutal and violent. And I just liked it because it was kind of mesmerizing, really gripping, and it was just a very well written and well put together one shot that's sort of a really good psychological portrait of this kid that really he wasn't totally sound morally, he beat two guys to death in this one comic, but it was very interesting to sort of decide your opinion on this kid just through 32 pages.
Okay. It's a one-shot, so that's unintimidating, so maybe I'll check it out.
Jordan, you want to go?
Okay, for me this week I picked Green Arrow 32. It's what the second half of Jeff Lemire's run on the book is. He's moving away from the mysticism with the Outsiders, now that he's finished that storyline, and going to more street-level crimes with characters like Richard Dragon, Red Heart Killer Mothbrick. It's definitely a different tone and feel to it, but it's still a good continuation of the story, and it's really getting me excited to see where it's going from here. Plus, the artwork is as good as always.
Nice.
Wait, you said that it's the second half of Jeff Lemire's run, right?
Right. This is, according to Jeff Lemire himself, he said this starts the second half of his run.
Okay, so when you heard the prospect of Jeff Lemire ending his run, how hard did you cry?
I didn't cry at all.
Because you love this book.
Yes, I do. It's so good.
All right,
Alright,
Sean,
what about you,
introduce
Don?
yours?
What? Yeah, okay. I'm going to recommend Moon Knight #4. I'm a big Warren Ellis fan. I think he's been doing a good job on the Moon Knight. Admittedly, I don't really read that much kind of like superhero stuff. I mainly focus on like horror and indie stuff. But I'm a big Warren Ellis fan. I like his writing style, and it's interesting the way he's doing Moon Knight. I don't really know that much about the character, other than kind of the basics. But I like how he's doing like every issue. It's kind of like a separate entity.
A one-shot.
Yeah, it's almost like each issue is a one-shot.
Yeah, I liked it
Yeah,
a lot when I was reading it. It was kind of tough for me to follow because it's not really linear, like you said, and that's kind of the charm of it, but it's also kind of a pain.
Yeah.
But I did like it. It's just my comic book shop person forgot to pull an issue for me, and then I just got behind and I couldn't catch up, and I just dropped it.
Well, I'm really torn on it because on the one hand, I think part of me thinks it might have benefited from like a traditional arc, and the other part of me is kind of digging this just kind of almost one-shot-esque every issue thing that's going on.
Well,
I get that.
Well, I think you should continue with it for a little bit because they're changing writers in issue 7.
Are they? Okay.
Yes,
Oh,
Brian
really?
Wood takes over.
Who
Who's
does?
Brian
Brian-
Wood?
Yeah,
You said?
Brian Wood takes over in September.
Drop it. Drop it. Drop
no.
it.
Yeah, I'm dropping it.
Brian Wood is the worst.
Nah, not the worst. I've read the worst.
I mean, as a person, he's very questionable. Is the thing. As a writer, I mean, I know a lot of people really like him. I kind of feel the same way with him that I feel with Jonathan Hickman. It's just very plot-driven, and that doesn't really work for me that well. I prefer more character-driven stuff.
I totally get what you're saying. X-Men, just the X-Men title, just such a pain to read because it was just this giant scope of plot, and it was just way too many moving parts. No one had any emotion at all. I could barely follow along with people's names. It was really not a good way to tell the story he wanted to tell.
Also, they're changing writers for that one in August.
Really? Who's the
Yes.
new writer there?
Mark G. I can't pronounce him. He's written a lot of books for DC though. Mark Gilliam.
Okay.
Gilliam. I can't pronounce it.
No, Jordan, you can't pronounce anyone's name.
Now, that's not true.
Who? Jeff Lemire, and who's the other guy? We decided on one last week. Anyways, do you want because we have time, maybe could we discuss some of the other stuff we read today that didn't quite make it on the pull this week? Didn't quite make it on the pull list, but it was still worth mentioning.
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to mention because I would have liked to put these on the pull list, but there is not enough money to spend. I thought The Wake was pretty fantastic, and since I reread all of Act 2 up until this issue, I think I just appreciate it so much more, and it's a really thrilling story that I'd like to see go on forever. Unfortunately, it can't.
I love that ending.
It really ended perfectly, and I also
Don't
love
give it away.
Original Sin.
I haven't read it yet.
Original Sin number 3 was just a really awesome, intense, gripping, really sucked you in. It's just a murder mystery. Like, that's what it is, but it has superheroes in it, and pretty much the premise now is that this guy killed the Watcher and took one of his eyes. And the eye, everything the Watcher, no, he didn't take both. Everything the Watcher has in his eyes, what he's seen at some point, and it is everyone's secrets. And now the guy used the Watcher's eye to expose everyone's secrets. It was just a bomb that went off, and now everyone knows everyone's secrets. And that's a really, really cool idea, I think.
Yeah. If we're tossing books on that we will like to recommend, but we couldn't fit on the list, I'm just going to quickly say Black Widow number 7 was pretty good.
Okay.
Also, Benny?
What?
The only new book that I read this week was Rai, or is it pronounced Ray?
Who cares?
Yeah, whatever. RAI number 2. Yeah, I gave it a 4.5 in my review. It's just very meh. Clayton Clane, his art looks like a video game, which I know for some people wouldn't really be something. For art that looks like a video game, it looks really good. But I don't want to read art that looks like a video game. That's just me. But I think this is a book that would probably appeal to a certain kind of person, and I'm not knocking that. I found myself very bored.
All right.
And now you know why I gave up reading that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I haven't read anything else this week.
Fine.
Well, I was doing, they're coming out with Creepy Volume 19 next week, and I was not aware how gigantically huge the volumes are.
How
So,
big?
It's like 280 pages.
Oh, darn.
Now, Volume 19, is that collecting stuff from like the original?
It's from the original, yeah. So it's doing, I forget the exact number of the issues, but it's doing like, I think 77. It's like either 76, 77. The issues that came out in 1977 or 76, I should say.
See, that's a series I've been interested in maybe checking out, because the EC horror stuff. If you want to talk about horror,
Yeah.
it's really the horror comics that back in the 1950s kind of drove the creation of the Comics Code Authority.
Yeah, yeah. It's all the Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, kind of creepy, that type of stuff, eerie.
Is it hard to read because it's so old?
There is a bit of a, like, it's very, there are subtle things, like, for instance, they do this thing all the time where it's like, someone will say, like, they won't say it, but it'll say choke, and it'll have, like, a little, like,
I'm choking.
No, like, it's, like, supposed to be onomatopoeia, almost, except, like, they don't do a noise. So rather than do a noise, it'll just be like, oh, no, what is that? Choke. And it's like, huh.
Yeah.
So that's kind of hard to get used to. And also, since it's written in the 70s, like, there's just, like, different styles. It tends to be, like, a lot more...
Wordy?
Wordy, yeah. It's a lot more wordy. It's, like, a little less visual. It's all in black and white, too.
I've noticed that thing when I started reading Tomb of Dracula recently.
Yeah, it's a lot wordier.
Yeah, like Tomb of Dracula, creepy, eerie, all these books that came out at a time when the Comics Code was still around, but they started getting a little bit more lenient. I mean, they were so strict that, before that when Marv Wolfman wrote some comic book, they were about to, not put their stamp on that because his name is Marv Wolfman.
Oh.
That's not a joke.
I believe you.
And so it's interesting to me, and something that in comic book history that I haven't really checked out yet. What these comics must have been like, where they still have to follow certain rules of the code, but now they're finally able to have werewolves and vampires and these kind of horror tropes that were just kind of as a blanket not allowed.
There's a great documentary. I forget which volume of the show Tales from the Crypt it's in, but there's a special feature where they have a documentary about EC Comics and Tales from the Crypt and kind of the genesis of the book. Actually, EC stands for Educational Comics, which is pretty funny. Initially they were just doing kind of like, I guess, like stuff for children, educational stuff, and then at some point they just kind of started trying out like a horror title or two, and then it just exploded, and they just stuck with the name because that was the company. But it talks about how the Comics Code came about, and the issues they had to deal with that. It's about an hour. It's really good. I'll see if I can figure out which volume of the show it's from and email you guys.
All right.
Yeah,
see if it's on
really
YouTube or something. Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, like.
Yeah, I was a intern for the CBLDF last summer, so I've been fascinated for quite some time about the Comics Code.
Should we steer this back on topic for what we're reading this week?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So this week we decided to read for our indie book of the week, Rat Queens #1,
which was nominated for an Eisner, by the way.
Yes, best new series. That's one of the reasons why we also picked it.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, we've been going through Eisner nominations from Image,
which is very interesting because you can sort of get an idea of what the industry is looking at as the best comics nowadays, because it's looking for a very specific kind of thing. It's a story that isn't cliche, like it takes risks and it's different from other ones, but also this sort of, there's this feel in all of them of sort of a kind of clever writing that's a little bit self-aware, but a little bit also kind of just insightful, but also just fun.
Yeah.
Really?
And I think that's been the case in almost all of them, except for maybe
East to West.
East of West, yeah, this one.
Anti-fun.
Mm-hmm.
East of West is, I would say, self-aware though.
It is.
It just doesn't. It's just not fun. But anyways, let's talk about what is fun. Rat Queens. What did you guys think?
In my opinion, it was very fun. I like the fact that it's very, in my opinion, very clearly a take on kind of D&D sort of tropes. That this is basically a D&D party, but they never make any direct reference to role-playing games.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of experience with D&D because I'm a huge nerd.
Well, aren't we all?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We're on a comics podcast. If you hadn't noticed, and you're watching it.
Or listening to it, whichever you prefer.
Yeah.
But no, I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. That's not to say that it was bad or that I even necessarily found anything wrong with it. It just I don't think it's as funny to me as it is to some people. But I definitely enjoyed reading it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I pretty much really enjoyed it. But I read all of it so far. Or I think the trade collection says it's best. Yes, they're a pack of booze guzzling, death dealing battle maidens for hire, and they're in the business of killing all God's creatures for profit. I think that kind of sums up the book in a whole.
But see, yeah, I think it's good that it has that Dungeons and Dragons feel, but the clever writing sort of relieves some of the brutal violence and the fact
I was
that
shocked how violent it got. Considering I looked at the cover and I'm like, oh, this is cutesy, and then
my kitten.
Seems like cute, and then it's like, oh my god.
Splat.
Well, I like that contrast, not just because of the cutesiness, but the fact that it's so violent while also being pretty much straight up comedy.
It's a black comedy.
You gotta be careful with that, because I think we all know who I'm talking about when I say there's a difference between being violent and sort of being funny about how crazy the violence is, Mark Miller, and being just sophomoric and immature. And I think this is wobbling on the edge. I didn't read I didn't read enough of it to tell you if I find it just egregious or not. But I would say, I don't know, from the first 3 or 4 issues, it's a little bit outrageous, but it's all in the fun of it.
The first volume's $10. Yeah, I think it's worth it for them.
I think it's really great that Image has been releasing their first volumes of things for just $10. I think it's really opening people up to not just Image Comics, but I think a lot of people that are normally more prone to maybe just reading Marvel and DC stuff, I think we're seeing more of them now kind of checking out more indie stuff as well.
Vertical's starting to do the $10 thing as well, so I hope it kind of catches on with other people.
Definitely. I just hope that cheap comics in general catch on.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's a great thing, because, I mean, if it was a little more than 10, I don't know that I would buy the full volume, but since it's only $10, I'll probably go buy it.
You know what the 2 things that turn me off most in trade buying are?
What?
The $12 and the hardcover. Or, sorry, the waiting and the hardcover. Because the hardcover is just always expensive and never worth it. Why would you get a hardcover if you could get a trade paperback, which is lighter, less clunky, you don't have to get the jacket dirty, and it's a lot cheaper. More often than not, half the price.
Some hardcovers are good because they could be like deluxe editions where they offer extra bonus content to it, but other than that, I've been mostly just switching to soft covers nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, if money weren't an object, unfortunately it is an object for me, but if it weren't, I would go to hardcovers pretty much 100% of the time.
I would definitely, even if money weren't an object for me as well, I would still stick with trade paperbacks. I just think it's sort of a more natural way to read it. It's less glossy, It's just the material, and there it is in its simplest form,
Some are a little different. Like Powers is released in a different kind of hardcover format with no slipcover or anything.
All right.
Yeah,
I think the waiting thing too that DC does, it'll take. So let's say the first 6 issues are published in just floppy format.
Yep.
We'll wait like 6 more months to get the hardcover, and then if you don't want the hardcover, you have to wait another year to get the trade paperback. So it means you're waiting a year and a half.
DC needs to fit.
Like that's crazy.
DC's trades are kind of an iffy thing. The weight is ridiculous, but the prices and the quality of the covers are good. Marvel, on the other hand, is price gouging with their trade paperbacks and with weaker covers and stuff.
Yeah. Well, as much as I love talking about paper quality, and weirdly, I'm not even being that sarcastic.
Oh, I know you're being completely serious.
But something that I thought would be really fun to talk about is that you guys have heard about all the problems that the Ant-Man movie has had with its production, right?
Yeah, they switched out the directors now, I believe.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Edgar Wright, who's directed a bunch of movies with Simon Pegg, like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz.
He's also
as well as the. Oh, sorry.
He also did Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, as well as Scott Pilgrim.
And he did End of the what was it?
World's End.
World's End.
That's a
great movie.
He also wrote Attack the Block.
Haven't read it.
I didn't know he wrote that.
Yeah, he was one of the people that wrote that alongside Adventures of Tintin.
Huh.
Oh, well, he's a talented guy. He's a funny guy. I think a lot of people were really looking forward to his take on Ant-Man. Unfortunately, he dropped out of the project, citing creative differences with Marvel. And Marvel was in a rush to find a new director because they still plan on releasing it in July of 2015.
Oh,
what?
So they went through. Yeah, I know, right? They're kind of in a rush. They don't have a director yet. They were in talks with a couple of people. Adam McKay, who I really love. He's directed Anchorman and Talladega Nights.
Come on.
We'll talk about that.
Wait, hold on. You like, I respected you so much. You talk about metafiction and art and Southern bastards, and then you're like, I also like Anchorman and pretty much everything Will Ferrell's ever been in. Are you kidding me?
Okay. We're getting way off topic now, but yes, I will not be ashamed to say it. I love Anchorman from the bottom of my heart.
Why? Explain to me why. Don't, like,
really, I am well aware of how dumb it is. Okay? But it does dumb humor really well.
How so?
We're going way off topic.
No. You're not gonna off topic your way out of this one. Why? What does it do?
Great.
What? Give me an example of a moment from that movie that is not completely sophomoric and completely unfunny.
This is a matter of opinion. I can't. It'll be hard for me to find a moment from that movie that isn't sophomoric.
No. Just one that you find funny. Just one that you find funny.
Okay, that entire fight scene where it just gets out of this world with how ridiculous it is. It starts as this kind of silly street fight. Already it's a funny premise because you have a bunch of news anchors in a street fight, and then all of a sudden they get all these crazy weapons like tridents and grenades. And it just is so over the top that you can't help but laugh. In my opinion,
I can help it. I will watch that movie 10 times over. I will not crack a smile.
Okay, well, I did watch the movie 10 times over, and I crack a smile every time.
Ant-Man, people.
Anyway, Ant-Man. Yeah, Adam McKay, I guess fortunately for Sam, dropped out of talks to direct it. He had other obligations.
Yeah.
Marvel reportedly is still looking for a director. I thought it would be fun for us to think about who, if we had all the power, in the world, who would we choose to direct it? It could be a director that's living or dead. It could be someone, regardless of what their obligations are. Pretend that you could choose any director in the world, any director in history, to direct the Ant-Man movie. Who would it be?
Brian Vaughn.
As in Brian K. Vaughan?
No, not Brian K. Vaughan. Whatever his name is, Matthew Vaughn.
Matthew Vaughn. Really? Yeah. Why's that?
And Brian K. Vaughan, if you want to slap him on. I don't care.
Yeah, he has wrote stuff before.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. The Vaughns. Are they related?
I doubt it.
No.
Yeah, but those are my two picks.
What makes you think that they'd be good for Ant-Man?
I like the Avengers movies.
Well, Matthew Vaughn has written some superhero work before Kick-Ass and X-Men First Class, and he's doing Kingsman: The Secret Service coming up, so he might be able to...
That's a really cool comic book, by the way.
So, yeah, I think he would probably be good for a superhero book. At least that's what I'm thinking Sam is thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Jordan?
I really don't know. No, honestly, I can never really tell with these Marvel movies because they always have so different types of directors who normally don't do superhero work or anything in the same realm, but always can produce a good superhero movie. So it could be almost anyone. I kind of trust Marvel to pick some of these people.
Okay, so your pick is whoever Marvel picks.
Yeah, I mean,
you're that much of a fanboy.
I mean, just look at Captain America 2. That was written by the guys who wrote Arrested Development and You, Me, and Dupree.
I thought.
Okay, excellent point. Excellent point.
All right, I mean, I'll take it. Yeah.
What about you, Sean? Bearing in mind that all we really need to know about Ant-Man is that he's a superhero that turns tiny.
Okay, because that's literally all I know is that he's a tiny superhero.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Well, I like James Gunn a lot. Anybody seen Super?
Yeah, that's an interesting movie.
I'm more familiar with Slither.
Slither. He also wrote the Scooby-Doo movies, which I'm ashamed to admit I actually like. The live action
No more. You're not alone.
We're finding out a lot about each other.
Yeah. We all like stupid movies here. Greg likes Anchorman. You're into Scooby-Doo. It's all good.
I didn't say I was into Scooby-Doo. I just liked those movies. I thought the lady that played Velma was hot too.
Oh yeah.
All right.
But she's attractive. Anyway, I think he would do an interesting job. Like it'd probably be fairly quirky. I'm also thinking Guillermo del Toro. I really like, although I don't know, like...
I think he's a really great director.
I don't know if Ant-Man needs to be, like, dark and, like, real.
I think he might do a good Thor movie, maybe.
Definitely.
Oh, I think
he would do a good Thor movie.
Do Thor.
Honestly, I'd like to see him get his hands on Constantine.
Oh, that'd be
yeah.
Of course, that's going to be tough now.
To do, like, a Justice League Dark kind of thing.
Yeah. He's in talks to do all sorts of stuff, though. I think he's one of those types that just he sees a good project and he grabs the rights to it immediately and like doesn't plan to do, like anything with it for a while.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on his Haunted House remake.
Which haunt?
Yeah,
Haunted Mansion. The Haunted Mansion. He's out the Disney ride.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there's so many stories. Like he's got the rights to this. He's producing a movie. Or he's producing the adaptation of a book called Hater, which was this really great British horror novel. And he scooped those up like years ago, like probably like, I don't know, 2008, 2009 maybe. And he was going to do At the Mountains of Madness, that fell through.
He's doing a Frankenstein, isn't he?
Yeah, he had talked about doing Frankenstein at one point, Hellboy 3.
I think that's still in the works. I think that one has a better possibility than all the other ones we just named.
Yeah, that one he just has been having trouble getting financing for it.
Yeah, I mean, they were two great movies, but I cannot imagine they made much money.
They didn't. That's the issue. Like he spent so much money on, like, not a lot by like Hollywood standards, but he spent a lot of money for not a lot of return. So
Yeah,
Right.
he went mostly practical, if I believe. Understand?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're almost out of time.
Wait,
But,
Sean
before
and I would like to discuss one thing.
All right.
Since this is
Can
not.
I just say my pick?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, my pick would be Brad Bird, who directed The Incredibles.
Oh, he also did Mission Impossible 4. Yeah.
He did, and it's
Another
because of
bad
that movie. I think he. Okay, but if you saw that movie, you at least have to admit that the action
All
scenes were really creative.
They were.
And
No.
given what he's done, a movie like Ant-Man would have to have a lot of animation. He's worked with
Pixar.
Brad in The Incredibles. He even did tiny things with Ratatouille. He has. I'd love to see him take on a Marvel superhero.
Mhm.
Anyway, what do you guys want to talk about?
Since this is not just exclusively a comic book podcast, I would love to talk about Game of Thrones Season 4 wrapping up, because it's almost done, and I suspect there are going to be a lot of, and I've been talking to Russ about it, there are going to be a lot of articles about it on Adventures in Poor Taste, and I thought it would just be kind of cool to talk about how we think the season's going and how we think it's going to wrap up. So I just want to say that the past 3 episodes have been about as good as Game of Thrones gets.
Hell yeah.
The death at the end of the last episode was brutal and awesome, and the death at the end of the 7th episode was brutal and awesome, and it's all just sort of really well written and sort of coming together and really well.
No, I'm digging it a lot. Like the last episode especially just blew my socks off. They did a really good. I've read first 3 books, and I'm always hesitant when it comes back to the show, and it's how are they going to do like this fight scene, or how are they going to do this part, and usually they do it quite well. And the fight with the Viper and the Mountain, no exception.
Yeah, I think that was. It had a little bit more spirit in the show than it did in the books, and I think that brutal ending was done really well in the show.
Yeah, they definitely timed it, like, and just the reaction of friggin' Tyrion at the very end of that episode.
Perfect. He's the best. He, in the past 3 episodes, the courtroom scene, the scene where he's talking to...
Yeah, and the last, not last episode, but episode before that.
Where he's talking to Oberyn about how he was a kid once, and then his sister tormented him, and it was just, I thought his reaction, because all of his acting is just in his reacting. Peter Dinklage is the best.
Guys, I do not watch the show, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
All right,
okay.
we'll cut it off now. Thank you for joining us.
Yep. Hope to see you guys next
Have a great week, everyone.
See you later.
week.